This new
Movie titled A Ghost Story, which is directed by David Lowery.
it's it's not good. Generic. Okay, it's working. Oh my god. You ready?
Ready.
Ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Hey everybody.
Hello, everyone.
We're with Allison again.
Hello.
It is 12:30 at night, and we have to be kind of quiet because everyone in the house is asleep. But we just came back from this lovely movie called A Ghost Story.
Lovely is a strong word.
And it had such an effect on us that we just had to talk about it. I haven't seen a lot of reviews for this. Like, the biggest one is Chris Duckman. But besides that, I haven't seen a lot of people on. I think it's like kind of like a smaller release. It came out like earlier this month, right?
In July, yeah.
Yeah. But it was a Sundance movie first. This movie was directed and written by David Lowery. It's starring Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck.
Barely.
We will talk about that. So, what's the plot for this movie?
Lots of things.
So, basically, man and woman, husband and wife, I didn't really realize this, but they weren't really given a name. Like, I think, were they credited as? Like,
They're credited as C and M.
Yeah.
Which is very original. Is Casey and not Rooney, but her last name instead.
Is that what they were going for?
I don't know.
It could be. I don't fucking know. Okay. So
they were going for Cookie Monster. So yeah clearly.
Oh, this movie is just, it has such a good, like, strong heart, and it's so much fun that I would totally believe that. We're gonna talk about how we feel about this movie in a bit. But I have a feeling you can probably tell how we feel about it. So the synopsis of this movie is a husband and wife living in a house. Husband dies in a car accident in which his head is barely scratched, and
but he got a boo-boo.
Like, I just can't go on like this. I refuse to live if I'm not one of the beautiful people. And what were you about to say?
I was gonna say it's Casey Affleck, so got some news for you there, buddy.
What were we saying before is, like, that's probably why he had to wear the bedsheet the whole time, because Rooney Mara was like, I refuse to be in any scene with him unless he's covering his face. God. Okay, so plot synopsis, which I keep avoiding. He's a ghost. He comes back as a ghost. Yeah, he comes back as a bedsheet ghost, and he's like haunting his own house.
Yeah, most synopses that I saw said, oh, he's just following his wife around while she's dealing with the grieving process and slowly getting over him. But that's not the entire movie. This movie has a whole other part after that part ends.
It was like you were saying about Trolls, where it's like the conclusion of the movie happens like halfway through the movie, and then it's just
more things happening.
Yeah, I remember at one point, because it's like, this movie has to deal with time. Like, that's a big selling point for this movie, that it's about time. It's about the passage of time, and but the time in this movie doesn't fucking work. Like, he's in his present time. A lot of time passes, cool, to the point that his building is torn down, and like this whole fucking like new city is built on top of it, like skyscrapers and all these buildings and stuff, and then he like jumps off a building, and then somehow after that, like, cuts right back to like fucking, like, I don't know what the time period is.
It was like Manifest Destiny days.
Yeah.
I don't know. He killed himself after he was dead so hard that he went backwards in time. Essentially is what happened.
Yeah.
And I think something, like, I understand what they were going for, where time just flies by. Like, one scene will be with one family, the other scene there's a new family in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that's how it would feel if he was this eternal spirit, but seeing it just didn't make any sense. I feel like the director could have conveyed that in a much better way.
Yeah, like, I think a lot of this movie would have worked better if it was shorter, Even though it's only an hour and a half, it feels like it's so much fucking longer. But one, if it was shorter, and two, if he actually... I know this director seems to be fucking allergic to, like, any sort of quick cut, but a montage would have actually worked a lot better for this movie. Like, wouldn't it have been kind of cool to have, like, a long, extended shot of, like, all these families moving in and out of the house with the ghost standing perfectly still? Yeah. And, like, all these people just, like, leaving, coming in, leaving, like, all these buildings being built up and torn down and built up and torn down.
Something like that could have definitely worked instead of, oh, he turned around, there's a kid, and then he turns the other corner, and there's, some teenagers partying.
Oh, my God.
Hold on, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. What if we talk about what we actually liked? Because, believe it or not, there were some good things in this movie.
Okay, that's true. So, what did we like about this movie?
There were scenes with another ghost in the movie.
Yeah, there's a scene with another ghost in the movie when they're talking. At first, it kind of threw me... I think it threw us off a little bit at first, because, like, they talk in subtitles.
Yeah, they barely move, and then it gets translated, which was a little jarring at first, but I think it was pretty funny. Like, yeah. That was a bit of comedy that actually worked.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way that the ghost talked. I like the dialogue of the other ghost a lot, actually. Like, they had some good quotable lines. It was actually, like, genuinely kind of creepy, some of the stuff that happened there.
Yeah, because this other ghost has been there for who knows how long, and they're waiting for another person to come back as well, and it's gotten to the point where they don't even remember their person.
Yeah, like, that's really cool. That's such an interesting idea. I remember, like, saying, like, when that scene happened, I was like, I'd make, like, a really cool, like, short film or, like, a comic or something.
Yeah.
Just that one scene outside of the context of that movie would be really cool, because, like, honestly, any scene with those two ghosts was really cool. Like, the last scene with the second ghost, where both their houses get torn down, and the other ghost just looks at Casey Affleck's character and is just like, I don't think they're coming back, and just, like, disappears.
Yeah.
That, to me, was super powerful. That kind of was one thing I did like about this movie, where it did show just the utter resilience of him, where he's like, I'm not giving up. I'm gonna stay as long as possible. But the way they conveyed it to me didn't work.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much that could be cut out of that. Leave those scenes, cut some stuff around it, maybe add some more actual things with his wife before she just takes off.
Yeah, like, make me care about her instead of having, like, a 10-minute fucking... Anyway, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
The very last scene actually worked really well for me, too.
Yeah. Because he's trying to get this note that she left in the walls of the house, because that's the thing she does. It's established earlier on in a kind of clunky scene. But anyway, he's trying to get this note. And you just see him pawing at the wall, which he can't get because he doesn't have fingers. And you just see him do that for a couple of scenes. And it's really sad,
Yeah.
And you want to know what she wrote, but you never find out. But once he reads it, he just disappears because he actually found closure.
Yeah. I like that. I actually like the fact that they didn't show us what the note said. I feel like that was, in a way, like, it made it an even more intimate moment for him, because it was, like, just for him to see.
Yeah, it was just a conversation between the two of them.
Yeah, I think that was really cool. I also just thought about something. So he could move stuff in the house, like, that's been canonly proved. So couldn't he have, like, grabbed, like, a plier or something and just taking it to the wall and just, like, pinched inside and pulled it out?
I guess, yeah, but I guess he didn't want to cause a commotion, except in that
one scene
where he attacked the poor family that moved in after her for no reason.
And it's so weird, because, like, that's the only time where, like, he seems to be, like, irrationally angry at people. Like, he's not mad at the fucking pretentious college students who, like, are partying in the house, but he's mad at the one Hispanic family who's there, which only leads me to believe that maybe Casey Affleck's ghost is racist.
What makes you say that? Casey Affleck, that upstanding citizen? Never.
But I don't know, it's like, yeah, why is he, like, so, like, obsessed with, like, kicking them out? But when, like, a whole gang of, like, pretentious, like, I took one philosophy class college students break into the house.
Quote, college students. Some of them were pretty old.
Baldy. Oh my god, how old? Okay, anyway, we'll get to that guy in a second. So that's what worked in the movie. What could have worked, would have potential, but kind of fell flat.
The whole story.
Yeah, like, I think, like, on paper, this sounds really good. The idea of someone being so in love with someone that he'll go through basically all of time just to like see what she said.
Yeah, even the bedsheet ghost angle was a little hokey at first, especially the way it's shot.
Yeah.
Where he's just walking through mountains looking like he's filming like a music video.
With it trailing behind him.
Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, that kind of iconography is timeless and it transcends most, I don't know, I think cultural barriers. Like if you think of a ghost, that's what you think of as, you know, the doofy bedsheet ghosts from cartoons.
That's true.
So I do like that.
Yeah. I like that idea. But the plot of this on paper to me sounds so good, and I was really excited to see it because I had seen Chris Duckman's review for it, and it sounded like it was very intimate and very personal, but it just did not pull through for me in the end. It was a good idea, but I feel like it was not executed very well.
Should we move on to the main event?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could talk about what didn't work.
Get a better editor. Those long takes.
Oh.
You could have shaved minutes off of those.
Oh my god.
Just because you have one thing on screen for a very long amount of time doesn't make it powerful. Especially when it's Rooney Mara sadly sitting on the floor eating a pie.
Sad is a strong word, I think.
Oh yeah, mildly discontent.
Slightly annoyed.
Mind you, this is after she IDs Casey Affleck's body. And she's in the house, you know, husband's dead. All their future is non-existent anymore.
Yeah, how did she afford that place after that?
I don't know. I mean, they had plans to move afterwards.
Yeah.
So, even still, moving into the new apartment they were looking at, I don't know what she does for a living, but
I have no idea.
It doesn't make sweet Bandcamp money that Casey Affleck was getting in this movie.
Oh yeah, we were saying that before. Is like, how does she afford like living there by herself for so long? But then we were like, oh, it's probably because like she's probably carrying the whole household anyway, because all he does is make fucking Bandcamp music.
Yeah, that scene. But yeah, you know, she gets home. The realtor was nice enough to leave her a pie and a note.
At least the realtor visited her.
Yeah.
No one else in this whole movie was like, oh yeah, her husband just died. Should probably make sure she's okay.
Yeah, this movie has a very limited understanding of the grieving process. They don't understand that if someone dies, everyone's over the house. She's just in this house alone, eating a pie.
Yeah, I mean...
For 10 minutes. It felt like 10-15 minutes. It had to have been.
It had to have been. I was gonna say, like, I was gonna try to give it the benefit of the doubt and be like, oh, well, maybe they didn't know that he died yet. But it's like the realtor... If the realtor knew...
Yeah.
Then the family definitely knew.
I mean, even if the family didn't live anywhere near there, that phone would be blowing up.
Yeah! Okay. But yeah, the pie scene. The pie scene. I know we're talking about this a lot, but admittedly, in our defense, it's genuinely at least 10 minutes of her, and it's like, no bullshit, if you haven't seen this movie, legitimately, she's sitting on the floor, eating a pie, and sniffling for 10 uncut minutes. Nothing else changes in the scene. The only thing that ends the fucking torture of this scene is that she gets up to run to the bathroom and vomit.
Which is how she grieves, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, but like, if my husband died, I would be ugly crying everywhere. I would be screaming. I would be throwing things. No, kind of sadly, eating a pie.
Yeah. Like, honestly, like, the idea of having a long shot for that long is a cool idea, and especially when it's someone grieving, because it could show a slow transition from, like, you know, numbness to just, or like the shock that you have at first to like just being fucking like shattered and crying. Like, that would have been cool if like over that period of time she just like got more and more upset and distraught. But like she's like sheds like 2 tears, like sniffles a bit, and just continues eating the pie, and everyone's like, this is so deep. It's deep.
It's not. Actually, it doesn't have any understanding of human emotion. That's what it does.
Because it's like, I got really annoyed after this movie was done, and I was saying like, this kind of shit would only happen in a pretentious ass indie movie. So many of them are like, I'm just above emotion. I'm above showing like humans feeling sad.
But yeah, it's trying to tap into human emotion.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
I'm above humans feeling sad. I'm just gonna have a 20-minute scene of someone staring at a fucking whatever. Just 20 minutes uncut, no talking, no emotions, no feelings. You're probably more articulate than I am right now. I'm
still trying to wrap my head around this movie and why people like it so much.
I don't know. And every review is like, it really touched me deep, and it hit home with me. I'm just like, the idea, like, what emotion does this show? This movie is so fucking like,
it's sterile. That's what it is. Just the visuals. Mm-hmm. It looks nice, but it's just so sterile. The emotions just aren't there. It's very just. It's just claustrophobic, which is what he was going for. But I feel like that's at the detriment to, it being emotional.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's bad.
You're trying to do so many things, but you're, in reality doing the complete opposite of them.
And I'm sure there are going to be people who are like, oh, well, you just don't get it. It's like, yeah.
No. I've seen plenty of indie movies. I get indie movies.
Yeah. There's nothing to get. The story is straightforward. It's just, I don't even want to say it's stupid. It's not stupid.
It's not stupid. It's just handled poorly.
Yeah, it's just so fucking bland.
I don't know. There was just a lot of scenes like that. Not to the same extreme as the pie eating scene, but a lot of them that just could be cut. Mm-hmm. Just for the sake of time and just, filtering out things that just don't need to happen.
Yeah, like, I don't know. This movie broke me. I had more to say about the trolls than this thing.
It's a different kind of not good.
I was saying before, like, I almost would have rather given my movie to the Emoji Movie than this movie. Because with the Emoji Movie, it's a complete cash grab, sellout piece of shit that I don't want to give any money to. But at least the people there know what they're making. Like, they know it's gonna be a bad movie and that they're just trying to cash in. But with this, what annoys me is, that the people behind this are like, oh, this is gonna, like, revolutionize filmmaking. This is saying something super deep, and it's really touching on something that no one else has thought of before. And it's like, it's not that deep, bro.
Yeah. No, I was reading about the director and how he got the inspiration for the movie. Mm-hmm. And basically he's like, oh, I want to put a guy in a bedsheet ghost costume and make it deep. And then the story kind of came afterwards, and I'm just like, maybe you wanted to workshop that a little bit more. Again, I like the bedsheet ghost concept. It didn't ruin it for me.
Yeah.
I just feel like this script needs a few more drafts done. A little bit more script doctoring.
Needs a fucking, like... First off, someone needs to sit him down and just be like, okay, this is how time works.
Time's an illusion.
Yeah. You can't just have it keep on looping in on itself. Do you want to talk about the scene that also broke me? The pseudo-intellectual...
Yeah. There's a great, quote-unquote, great monologue in this movie written by some guy that at some point is in the house for the party that we mentioned before. And he just rants and rants about, pseudo-nihilistic garbage, basically. And I'm just like, who invited you?
Yeah.
Who would want you at a party?
This fucking, like, balding ass, like, 30-year-old dude who's, like, has a receding hairline when he was, like, 22.
I know. He's just, like, spitting all this nonsense, and all these college students are like, whoa, man.
Dude, like, it's so funny. Like, you know how, like, you could tell with certain movies, people are, like, just self-inserting?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell, like, with this action movie, sometimes it's like, that's me, basically. You could tell with this one, the writer's just like, this is what I want to happen. I want to go to a party with Kesha there and people dancing.
There.
And
why?
people
I don't know.
dancing and having a good time. And I'm talking about the pointlessness of existing, and then the entire party stops to just look at me as I'm talking, and I get up and act like I don't give a shit. And it's like, suck your own dick some more.
I know, and he's not even saying anything new or deep. It's something that you've heard a million times before. Basically, he's saying that we're all gonna die and we're all gonna be forgotten. No, duh. Like,
yeah.
Obviously. The sun's gonna explode at some point and there's not gonna be an Earth anymore. And he's like, oh, there's no point to anything. We shouldn't, do anything. I'm like,
he's like, why do you care about leaving a legacy when everyone's gonna die? I'm like, good job. You quoted John Green.
yeah.
You're as deep as John Green. Congratulations. Mr. I took a 1 philosophy class. Go fuck yourself. This movie made me more mad than it should have.
I mean, it's justified. Because I've known people that are like the embodiment of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where, existence is pointless. And, everything I do is so deep and meaningful. And no, it's really not.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I imagine going to, obviously won't say the name, but going to the college you went to, I can imagine how that was.
Good old liberal arts schools.
Dudes with ponytails telling you how spiritual they are.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. Wasn't this people were saying this movie was quote unquote spiritual?
Yeah, it's deep and thought provoking and spiritual.
They mentioned God for the beginning of that rant. He's just like, oh, what if Beethoven didn't have God? He realized that God didn't exist and he didn't write all his symphonies in honor of him. And I'm just like, oh, what are you getting at?
I think I get what he was saying with that. Whereas they're writing it for God because in their mind God is eternal, but then when you write it for people, people aren't eternal, which is I still want them to fucking see it.
Yeah.
If I make something, I want people to see it. I don't care that if I'm dead, it's not gonna matter if people see it or not.
Yeah, it's truly for this one person. He's like, oh, Beethoven wrote for his nephew instead. It's for him. No one else matters, really.
Mm-hmm.
And he just starts shouting how everyone's kids are gonna die and forget about them. I'm just like, I would throw him out. Why is no drunk frat boy going up and punching him in the face or something?
It's whatever, grandpa. Just fucking body slamming him.
Suplex him right out of the house.
That probably was in the rough draft, but the director was like, that would never happen.
It actually would.
This guy would be the life of the party.
No.
And Kesha would stop dancing.
Yeah, why wasn't... How did they get Kesha in this?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, if there's one, besides the other stuff that we mentioned, if there's one really big shining light in this movie, it's the fact that someone helped give Kesha more money. Because I know she's been through a lot. Mm-hmm, so, the fact that she had some kind of income coming in is good to know. Because Kesha's a good bean.
She is a good bean.
She deserves good things.
Yeah, she does. I still don't understand why, out of all the people in the world, they picked her for this movie, but, if it helps her, I won't question it. I won't push the issue.
Because you know why? Because the one thing Kesha needs to be around is more abusive men.
Stop.
Sorry. Is there anything else you want to say about this movie? Or should we just talk about the weird theater dude?
Let's talk about weird theater dude, and we can, talk about other things later as they come to us. So,
we had if the movie wasn't bad enough, we had an interesting experience at the movie theater. So at this theater, they have this little bulletin board where you can actually write down they have a piece of paper and you can just write down the review of the movie, little short reviews, what you think of it. And so I took a piece of paper and I was gonna write down what I thought about this movie, and as you could tell, wasn't good stuff. I feel like there's some guy behind me. I'm not sure if he's looking at me or looking at the board, but you said he was looking over my shoulder, right?
Yeah, it looked like he was looking at the reviews for A Ghost Story.
Yeah.
Which makes sense considering that.
Considering that, I turn around and he's like, oh yeah, sorry if I'm being weird or anything. It's I work for A24, which is the company that produced this. He's like, I work for A24, and I'm just trying to figure out what people are thinking about this movie. I really liked it. I'd give a solid B+. What do you think? And I'm looking I'm gonna finish writing my review when I go to the bathroom, and so like I just like take Allison's hand and we just like walk towards the bathroom, and you're like, oh my god,
that would happen to us though. And he's like, oh yeah, the ending scene that tied it all together, which it was a good ending scene, but it couldn't fix the whole movie.
And when I came out the bathroom, I tried to record it, but I'm like by the time I started recording, they had already left. But he was like waiting for his friend to come out of the bathroom. So when he came out, they started talking about the movie, and his friend was like, yeah, it was really good. Like that pie scene, like people will think it dragged on. It dragged on a little bit, but I really liked how it just showed like how just distraught and like depressed she was. Like she wasn't showing like any emotion the whole time.
No,
it's just like
that's not how it works.
It's not like I can't speak for everyone's depression. I've had my own issues with depression. I know you have too. But like, I'm sure if someone that you know died, you're not just gonna sit on the floor sniffling a little bit and eating a pie.
Yeah, no, it's not like you have a cold
level
of sniffling. You eat a pie and then maybe throw it up. It's a little bit more intense than that in my experience when you lose someone close to you.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of emotion would happen eventually. Like you'd probably become numb. Like I've known people who like after someone close has died, they've become like super numb afterwards. Mm-hmm. But like you still feel it. Like it still hits you.
Yeah, no, she wasn't really acting any differently than she was in the rest of the movie, except for that one scene where she smiled.
Yeah, the one scene where she smiles at the very end, like when they first get into the house.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that was something that they were trying to convey too, was that, the love kind of died in their relationship.
That I get.
Even still, you wouldn't be sniffling eating a pie if the person you were with was dead.
Not for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, if that's what you're trying to convey, cool. Awesome. Cut the fucking scene in half. Please. It doesn't need to be that long. It was redonkulous. The other scene too, like when they leave because they hear like something falls on the piano, and we learn that later is like him as a ghost, which I don't understand the time of that. But when they come back to bed after investigating it, they're just like in bed, like holding each other and kissing, and it goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes.
I don't know. That's just a horror movie thing where I expected there to be another jump scare or something at that point.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, it's building tension, something's gonna happen, and then it just cuts to the next scene.
After like 4 minutes, I'm like...
I mean, granted, afterwards, that's when we find out he died. So I guess that was like, oh, this is their last interaction together before he died, of a slight cut to the head. But...
It's like, it's so deep and powerful. And like, the last thing is, he says, like, my heart's beating so fast. Who says that?
No one. I know, even that whole opening scene where she's just like, oh, when I moved out of places, I'd leave little notes. I'm just like, oh no. That just reeks of indie movie dialogue where people are just like, oh yeah, here's my quirky thing. It's gonna be important later, so remember it.
Honestly, though, if you replaced all the music in this with, like, ukulele, it would still be the exact same movie.
Yeah. Casey Affleck is the personification of Bandcamp. He has the scraggly beard and hair. He just sits at home doing nothing. I love Rooney Mara's reaction listening to the song that I'm pretty sure I couldn't understand the lyrics because it was awfully produced.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was about her.
Yeah.
And then she's just very neutral, just like looking around like, okay, is this almost over? Mind you, this is like upbeat techno music. And she's just like kind of nodding along, not even to the beat correctly. Yeah. It's just like, okay, da, da, da. And then the song's over and she just leaves the room. It doesn't even say like what she thinks about it, any feedback. No. Like we were saying, it'd be like if you showed me something you were working on and I just left.
Yeah. Or you showed me like your photography or something, and I'm just like, I just like stared blank face at it and walk away.
Granted, I think that's how most of my photos make people feel. But...
I like your photos, for one. And if you showed me them, I would have a reaction because I actually care about you.
Would you sit down and eat a pie, though?
Oof, yeah, that's the good question. If something happened to you, would I sit down and eat a pie or would I cry?
Yeah, and how long would you eat the pie for? That depends. Like,
I would definitely eat a pie long enough to puke.
oh,
That's how much I care
that's
about
so
you.
sweet.
I would leave a note in the wall. Although I'm surprised like no one just painted over. It's like, oh, there's a fucking hole in this.
Yeah, that's what I thought happened at one point too. I guess him scratching at it kind of like made a little crack again. I don't know.
This whole movie is just me like I don't know.
I don't know the movie. It's perfect.
Any final thoughts?
Just workshop it a little more.
Yeah.
A lot more, and then see what you have.
Run it by more of your friends, and then listen to them when they tell you it's awful. Don't just think that you know better. Listen to them.
Yeah, get a better editor. Get some people to doctor the script a little bit.
Get someone who's willing to actually cut out scenes.
But it was done in different aspect ratio to make it look different.
It looks like found footage. It makes it look real.
No, it doesn't.
There's nothing more realistic than having no reaction when your husband dies.
Has your husband ever died?
I mean, the last time my husband died, I did actually cry, so.
There you go.
This movie's misandrist.
Stop.
And with that, we end. You want to stop?
Stop.